Tone. Google search brings this up. But here we go. They give them some money up. Let's hear what they say and go live here, and I'll let you hear it and critique it. Hold on. Come on.
He was called to court to explain how his cell phone wound only on 6. We are hearing for the first time from the top engineer on the FIU pedestrian bridge that collapsed. He was called to court to explain how his cell phone wound up with water damage, making it useless to investigators. NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone was in court for today's hearing. And Tony, some in court were very skeptical.
Yeah, well, the judge and opposing counsel find it interesting, let's say, that the key engineer's cell phone suffered devastating water damage 3 months after the collapse without anyone first securing text messages and photos from the phone.
Yeah.
So today the judge called Fig Bridge Engineers Vice President Denny Pate to testify under oath about what happened to his phone. He says his wife accidentally washed it with his laundry 1 year ago, and the judge and attorneys want to know why Fig did not tell anyone that until just now.
All right, moving on. So look, Fig's going to go ahead and give a little settlement up here. Look, we're going to play this backwards here. This is the current one. That was a link to it. Here we go.
Victims of the FIU bridge collapse will be getting more compensation now that 6 more companies today agreed to settle lawsuits filed against them. NBC6 investigator Tony Pipitone broke this story online. And Tony, one of those companies is the bridge engineer?
Yeah, sure is. Fig Bridge Engineers, the company responsible for designing the span that collapsed last year, killing 6. Fig has agreed in principle to settle, adding to the $42 million pool of money available to victims through a bankruptcy court proceeding. That $42 million is from insurers for Munia Construction Management, the builder hired by FIU to run the bridge project, now trying to reorganize in bankruptcy. How much Fig is going to add to the pool is not yet public, but should be once approved by the bankruptcy court. 5 other companies also joined Fig in announcing agreements today. Will decide how much each of the 20 victims or the families. A retired Florida Supreme Court justice will decide how much each of the 20 victims or the families will receive from the pool of funds. Now, lawyers tell me now that these companies have agreed to pay into the victim pool and settle the lawsuits, others may be motivated to join in rather than risk going to trial and getting a jury. A retired Florida Supreme Court.
So check it out. 42 million already. Really? Was this girl going to make over 42 million in her lifetime? This one, the value, life has a value on it, right? Dollar sign. It's what you have left in you, right? You can't be on your going to die tomorrow, and you die by a bridge falling on you today. You can't get millions of dollars for one day's worth of life. You know, if your family can. They said, well, he was dying tomorrow. Well, we're all going to die, and so they put a little life cycle on, you know, the dollar value on it. So, you know, these people, the people dead. There's 2 of them are lovers, right? Is this guy? 2 are lovers. One's a worker. One's a student. And that's the worker. I think they're 2 lovers. 2 lovers are here. 1 student. And another guy in the car, right? So, yeah, I mean, you got crushed. Your family's getting the money now. They don't get it. They don't get the money. So the family sues for them. Paying us $42 million. Wow. $7 million each. You know, the way it looks like, you know, it's like $7 million. He wasn't going to make $7 million to hand his wife a lottery ticket in his lifetime. I don't think she was either. She, you know, from what we've seen from the parents talking about her, she was not on the fast track to make $7 million in her lifetime. These guys were in retirement zone. They even putting together the 2 guys, some 2 guys were together. This retirement zone going to move their mother in. So they were going to go in deficit a little bit, but $7 million each. I know I might be triggering some of you guys, but I think that's enough. You know, now we need to get paid for the bridge. We need the bridge put back as far as the people, the tax dollars that paid for this. That money needs to go back. No, don't give these people any more than that. You know, Fig wants to put money back into the kitty. Well, Fig should return it back to the people that are out. And that is the taxpayers of the United States, since it came from Tiger funding, which theoretically comes from tax dollars, right? So we're the victims also. We should all get our money put back in the kitty, not just go off to these people. And especially the worker that was on the bridge. You know, it was a new job for him. I don't care. You know, that's not the way it works in the United States. Workers are expendable. And so that's tough luck. Workers expend when they build bridges. They count, workers dying. Well, it turns out they were building a bridge and a worker died. Typical bridge build. All right, of course I'm being facetious to some degree. I want to show you VSL. Bear with me one moment. So if you go to VSL's website, VSL provides services in structural diagnostics and the monitoring of concrete structures, inspection, assessment, and diagnosis of structural deterioration, assessment of the causes, risk, and consequences involved, use of state-of-the-art equipment and inspection techniques to detect defects before any significant damage can occur. This is VSL, what they're bragging about here. I can trigger you a couple more with their specialists and how great they are. But yet they show that, this is why I told you VSL is the one that ultimately should be responsible. They're supposed to have the trained people there. And yeah, it's a contract or whatever it might be. I don't care. You're still using VSL's name. This is what you represent. So VSL is ultimately responsible for doing the post-tensioning. If they would have insisted and stopped, well, then everything would have stopped. But VSL worked under MCM as per the OSHA report, and they followed MCM's orders. Idiots. They should have followed their own guidelines, their abilities. Dumbasses. All right, let's jump into VSL and the report, the OSHA report. VSL, I'm going to show you that they state that they completed it. The report says they didn't complete it. Then the report says they completed it. VSL's employees began retensioning the bars around noon and reportedly followed the instructions. They retensioned the bars 50 kips at a time, reportedly. So what's the report? Let's see that reportedly document. Or is it just reportedly to OSHA? At a time of alternating between the upper and lower bars. That would be number A and B. They had retensioned the upper bar at the desired tension of 280 kips. And were at the lower bar at their last cycle to complete 280 kips when the incident occurred. And they were at the lower bar when the incident occurred. Brown was fatally injured. Hansen was critically injured. Now, brain stupid, right? I already talked about that. We go on. There were 3 employees. Kevin Hansen, supervisor. This guy, Navajo Brown. In addition, there were 2 BPA employees up in there. Okay. On March 15, 2018, the instructions of the MCM, VSL gathered his crew and positioned them on the canopy to begin retensioning the post-tension bars in Diagonal 11 at approximately noon. The instruction given by FIG to MCM was to retension alternating the upper and lower bars, applying 50 kips alternatingly to each bar each time until the entire 200 kips tension is achieved. A crane was available at the site to position the jack and attach it to the bar being tensioned. Was available or was it used? Obviously, it wasn't used. They must have been using physical manpower to move it back and forth. There were 3 VSL employees, and we talked about that. I just said that. Let's go here. VSL asked MCM to have FIG evaluate the cracks and to determine whether the repair of the cracks need to be made prior to retentioning. VSL is asking them. They're supposed to be the expert asking MCM to ask FIG. So you can see there's no direct contact. This is implying no direct contact between VSL and FIG. That was on March 13th, apparently. On March 12th, rather. 13th, 12th, that timeline there, whatever it might be. MCM instructed VSL to proceed with the preparation to retention post-tension bars in Diagonal 11. MCM arranged a crane to be presented on March 15, 2018 to facilitate retensioning. March 15th, two structural engineers from FIG, Denny Pate and Eddie Leon, arrived at the site approximately 7:45 a.m. to examine the cracks first by walking over the deck. So at 7:45 on the day of the failure, they were on the structure. Thereafter, they evaluated the cracks by using a man lift for better access. So we see a man lift up there one time in the time lapse. And so here we are, them looking again. So they did a big presentation on that day. They prepared it how? How did they prepare it? That's amazing, starting at 7:45. Thereafter, they evaluated the cracks by using a man lift, right? Also present were MCM's Azazes and Pedro and BPA's Jose Morales. Denny Pate and Pedro Cortez went up in a man lift and examined the cracks. It was reported to OSHA during an interview that Denny Pate said that the cracks looked worse than in the pictures. Obviously, pictures are received. At approximately 9 a.m., which is 1 hour 15 minutes later, a meeting was held in MCM's trailer with attendees from FIG, FIU, MCM, FDOT, and BPA. FIG was to present its findings and recommendations to the group on the cracks on the north side of the bridge. BPA informed OSHA that BPA prepared the minutes a couple of days after the meeting based on handwritten notes taken by BPA during the meeting. 2 days after the collapse, BPA prepared notes. How convenient. All right, so now March 15th. 1 hour and 45 minutes was the total evaluation of these cracks. We're going to show this. Can you get to it? FIG further instructed MCM to stop retensioning and immediately notify FIG if the cracks increased in size. You see that? At 5:18 p.m., FIG confirmed that again, we have evaluated this further and, wait a minute, let me get you a different date. Hold on. Oh, that's the, right. FIG gave additional instructions to MCM to retension the two post-tension bars and diagonals 11 to 280 kips, each stressing the two bars alternating at 250 kips each at a time until full tension of 280 kips is achieved. So multiple places, 280 kips. FIG was concerned about the increase in crack size. It stated, quote, the type 2 diaphragm should be closely monitored during the post-tension bar stressing process to ensure that the crack size does not increase. FIG stated that FIG recommends to stress the post-tension bars as soon as possible, but again, this is not a safety concern. This is end quote. FIG hoped that retensioning would either stop further growth of the cracks or shrink the crack size. FIG further instructed, I don't know, this is extrapolation. FIG further instructed MCM to stop retensioning and immediately notify FIG if the cracks increased in size, and that retention needed to occur as soon as possible. VSL crew had moved out of the town and could not report to the site until March 15, 2018 with a crane to assist in retensioning. Okay. I want to show you. Sam Nunez of VSL stated during OSHA interview that the photos he received subsequent to March 10th were different, showing spalling and cracks in the diaphragm too, implying that additional cracks took place after March 10th, 2018. On March 22nd, interview, MCM Superintendent Ernesto Hernandez said that Kevin Hansen told Pedro Cortez, that's the MC guy in charge of quality control. So Kevin Hansen, just the head guy from VSL, the cracks were appearing at the bottom of diagonal 11 after detensioning. So cracks appeared on diagonal number 11 after detention. Mr. Cortez examined the cracks and took pictures on March 10th, 2018. So this is what screenshots of Kevin Hansen's message to Sam Nunez on March 10th. And we have the same thing on March 10th. But he said cracks appeared at the bottom of diagonal number 11, not in the diaphragm. So this is also showing, I wish we had a real timestamp up here, or real time on this one, when this was taken, because he didn't mention those, did he? But they're implying that cracks like hell took place on March 10th. Cracks at the bottom of number 11 appeared. It cracked like hell here, but the report states that Kevin Hansen told Pedro Cortez that the cracks were appearing at the bottom of diagonal number 11 after detentioning. So I got a little conflict. When did it show up? You know, it's killing me here, because they're implying that after detention that all these showed up, but it doesn't state that here in this part of the report. But it implies it by throwing this photograph in here saying March 10th, cracks like hell. It's not the bottom of 11. That's the diaphragm at that point, right? MCM employees Ernesto Hernandez and Pedro Cortez took pictures of the cracks at 4:51 p.m. Well, do we have the pictures of the cracks? MCM senior project manager Zalia sent email to Dwight Dempsey with copies to other engineers, Denny Pate, Franklin Hines, Eddie Leon, and Manuel, whatever. A FIG asking them to comment and review the pictures of the cracks as promptly as possible. Mr. Izes had a sense of urgency and opined that some of these cracks are rather large and of concern. Emphasis R's, that's their emphasis, bold letters. So, where are the photographs? These photographs sent in an email. Took pictures of the cracks. Sent an email to them with copies to other engineers. It doesn't say copies of photographs, does it? This seems like it's leaving out some copies of photographs. And asked them to comment and view the pictures of the cracks as promptly as possible. He sent an email, pictures of the cracks. So are you referring to the pictures of the cracks in the email? All right, we're moving on. The immediate attention and response is required. MCM Superintendent on March 22nd, during an OSHA interview, stated that Cortez, MCM Quality Control, went back to see the cracks and told him that the cracks had increased. So went back to see that. But when did he go back? When did he go back? This timeline is killing me here. Mr. Hernandez went himself to look at the cracks, and that the cracks had gotten wider and larger, end quote. The picture sent to FIG and some additional pictures of the cracks are reproduced below. All right. So is this the picture sent to FIG? Are these the pictures sent to FIG? 312, 312, 312. What's the date of that picture of the cracks like hell? It looks like it could be these, right? Is that 312 then that the pictures cracks like hell presented? What's going on here? All right, I want to show you something else. So the crew began the preparation to de-stress the, this is on the March 10th. Did they de-stress it in 50 kips each? Or did they just unscrew it? That's a major concern, right? Did they dial it down 50 kips each? That would be interesting to really know that. I wish we had some real supervision there. But apparently we are not entitled to it. After observing the cracks, okay, right here. There are 3 VSL employees performing de-stressing. Kevin Hansen, supervisor, Navajo Brown. Well, Navajo Brown did not show up on a de-stressing day. So this part of the report is wrong. As we understand, Navajo Brown showed up on his death date. So this is how he wasn't there on the 10th, as we understand. Now, maybe he was, and other part documents are wrong. Kevin is regarded as one of the most knowledgeable post-tension field personnel in South Florida. This guy that's now brain messed up. He's so damn knowledgeable, he went ahead and did the post-tensioning anyway on the retensioning. So I find him not to be knowledgeable. I find the statement to be wrong, and that Kevin should have been the one that died, since he was one of the most knowledgeable ones there, and he allowed this post-tension to continue. So Kevin should be dead, not Navajo Brown. If you're going to trade off lives. And I don't care what people say about what I just said. After observing the cracks, because he's a supervisor, after observing the cracks, Kevin became visibly disturbed, which means he grimaced. I don't know what the hell this means, and informed other VSL employees of the situation. So I don't know what employees he informed of the situation. The 2 workers there, which is not Navajo Brown, apparently, from the other report. So I don't know. Kevin took pictures of the cracks and sent them to the supervisor, Sam Nunez. So this is detentioning day on the 10th. But he stated that Kevin Nunez said it was bottom 11, but the photographs that we see this Nunez is the diaphragm. So Kevin doesn't know the difference between a diaphragm and a diagonal. What's going on with this? Or who doesn't know? After observing the cracks, Kevin took pictures of the cracks and sent them to a supervisor, Sam Nunez, stating that it cracked like hell. See figure 23. Reproduced below is Kevin's text. Ashley mentioned to OSHA that Kevin went to MCM to show the photos of the cracks. Sam Nunez of VSL stated that during OSHA interview that the photos he received subsequent to March 10th were different, showing spalling and cracks in diaphragm 2, implying that additional cracks took place after March 10th. So you see there's in the paragraph here, there's also a conflict from the known supervisor of VSL. All right. This is major here. MCM entered into a contract with blankety blank. VSL prepared post-tensioning shop drawings and submitted them for approval through the chain. So using VSL's approval, they used that's that VSL guy did in a video days back. They used a different profile up here on the post-tensioning. 6 post-tension tendons, D1 through D6, were provided on either side of the center line of the truss, as shown in figure 11. These are not straight, guys. If you see these, this is a jog downwards, across, jog downwards, and then back up again, and then like this. This profile is a profile. These are lower than here, and I think in real life they became lower than that. One end of the structure, which is the failed end of the structures, D1, importantly, is 471 kips. On the opposite side of the diaphragm, on number 1, is 489, which I'm quite triggered by this report, because it states they're the same, they're in essence the same, the 2 diaphragms, and they're not. The first pour consisted of the deck and the diaphragms. So this was the first pour. The second was the diagonals and struts. Third was the canopy. The fourth was the blisters over the canopy. So right now you've got a system that could just fall all apart. You know, the bars are only holding together. The stirrups going into the nodal area. And so then it was locked together with the post-tensioning. Locks it in. I'm talking about the vertical post-tensioning. The bars, not the transverse. Or the longitudinal at that point. Well, some of the transverse. Diaphragm 1 and 2. So, on December 14th, pour number 3, canopy, pour continuously. So they did the canopy on December 14th. 30 days later, approximately, I don't see where the blisters are going in here, right? They did the canopy. And we got no blister mentioned about when the blisters were installed. So we don't know if that's green concrete or 100% mature concrete. January 16th to 31st, post-tensioning 12 longitudinal strands in the deck and 4 in the canopy took place. Well, that's not how that worked. It did 2 in the deck, 2 in the canopy, and number 2 and number 11 as per the plans. But maybe this is telling the truth. Post-tension 65 transverse tendons in the deck. Post-tension diagonals with post-tension bars. Note, except for diagonals 2 and 11, all tendons and post-tension bars were grouted in the deck, canopy, and diagonals, but they were not grouted while they were being done. So this order I find quite weird, because it was 2 and 11 done, and then the rest of the post tensioning was done without grouting between them. So that allowed for load paths to change. After all, the post-tension tendons and post-tension bars for post-tension preparation were underway to move the span. On the 23rd, they said they began removing, shoring under the bridge. And under the bridge, I'm confused. It was at between the deck or below it. All right, I want to show you back to this. Oh. I don't want to really beat up the photographs too much more for you guys. I want to show you this statement about diaphragms being still a huge difference between them. Yep, you gotta bear with me. It's the price of a free video. So don't anybody want to complain about it. I'm just gonna block you. I'm just tired of complaints about silly stuff like that. It stated the type 2 diaphragm should be closely monitored during the post-tension bar or stressing process to ensure that the crack size did not. Oh, that was the repair, right? Diaphragm 1, similar to diaphragm 2, except it was 3'6" wide by 4 foot deep. It's a huge difference between these two diaphragms. Huge difference. There is not just similar to diaphragm one, not just 3'6" by 4 foot. The one on number 2 was 2 foot wide by 4 feet. Number 1 was 3'6" by 4 foot wide. Now this is kind of weird, right? Diaphragm 1, similar to diaphragm 2, except it was 3'6" by. So what's the difference? It's a huge difference. There is 1 foot, 2 foot 8, 4 foot is diaphragm 2 right here. Diaphragm 2. Diaphragm 2 and diaphragm 1 are hugely different. Let me get you this. Hold on one moment. Bear with me. Okay, here's diaphragm 1. Diaphragm 1 has the post-tension bars in the deck. Diaphragm 1 has the upright number 1 sitting on the deck. None of it overhanging it, sitting on the deck. Diaphragm 1 is 3'6" by 4 foot tall. Diaphragm 1 has 2 hinges, top and bottom, or 1 set. Diaphragm 2 has post-tension bar 1 inside the deck. The other one's outside in a blister. Diaphragm 12 has a irregular shape like this, if you will, that goes into the canopy. It has the bar number B going through part of number 12, clipping the base of it, creating a moment. Obviously, can create a moment. Diaphragm 1 has it, if you follow this down, it just barely clips the top of the, barely, just a crumb into number 1 through the deck, through the number 1 upright. You can see the embedment inside. There's 3'6", much. It's 1 foot 8 inches wider. The other one's 2 foot of concrete. It's 1 foot 8 inches wider. There's a night and day. It sits on different shims over here, night and day. They're nothing. They're not alike. If you look at the top of it has the canopy sitting on top of this, loading on top. No special chamfer or dado design there. Right here, this is sitting like this. It's a huge difference. It's also a huge difference in the post-tensioning transverse. On this end of the structure, it mounts to thousands of pounds less than the forces applied on this end of the structure. This end of the structure, if you're using it like a zonal thing, it would have more forces, more clamp forces on that end on the transverse longitudinal cables compared to down on this end. So there's a huge difference. This is only 2 foot, 2 footers reportedly. So huge difference. This has the pipe running through it. This I don't recall yay and nay, but huge difference in sizing. You're going to pick on anything, you can pick on the imbalance, the stupid symmetry, the cost effectiveness of doing this design as opposed to, you know, doing this design and then butting up your pure solo by itself. They had it all integral tied together, and therein lies the problem. You know, you should have had it freestanding. If you're going to do it freestanding, it should stand freestanding. With that said, this is a joint. It can rack. I'm dominating video. I wanted just to throw this at you. Thanks for watching.